Part 31. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 301. In a luxuriously decorated room. Walking Day held up the mobile phone, her delicate jade face froze, stunned and confused. Am I going to speed up? After passing this opening, is it very wide inside? The next day, your body will fall apart? Pain. Bleeding. This, are you sure this is running? You lied to a 3-year-old. Why are you running, Fei Xian? I didn't expect you and Su Yang to develop so fast, and actually, both do that kind of thing. Walking Dai's face turned red, and she suddenly thought of what Su Yang said on the phone. What are you afraid of? There is no one on the road. Does this mean that Su Yang and Fei Xian started having sex on the street? Bold. How brave. Walking Day said in disbelief, Feixuan, a pure and clean girl, has now fallen to this level. It's all Su Yang's fault. The super dandy Mr. Su really lives up to his reputation. He has a wild nature in his heart. Fei Xian is like a sheep in a tiger's mouth when she is with him. Walking Day gritted her teeth, suddenly feeling unworthy for Li Feixuan, but thinking of her grandfather Hua Shimiao's attitude towards Su Yang, Walking Day became particularly curious. What is so good about young Master Su? Why does my grandfather favor him so much? At this time, villa area, on a small road. Just now, concubine Li ran too fast and accidentally fell down, hitting her knee. Her skin rubbed against the ground, and blood seeped out instantly. Su Yang quickly turned around, squatted down to clean Li Feixuan's wound, and asked at the same time, Honey, are you okay? Does it hurt? Of course it hurts. Li Feixuan glanced at Su Yang angrily and complained, It's all your fault. I'm running well. No matter how fast I speed up, it's all your fault. Yes, yes, yes. Su Yang responded and covered the wound with spiritual energy. The wound healed almost in the blink of an eye. Turning around, Su Yang asked with concern, Honey, does it still hurt? It doesn't hurt, hey, it's strange. It was bleeding just now. Where is the wound? Why is it suddenly gone? Concubine Li Xian was so curious that she stood up and moved around. She found that her leg didn't hurt at all, as if she hadn't been injured just now. What's going on? Honey, actually you were not injured in the first place. You were just in too much pain, which affected your judgment. Su Yang smiled. Oh, maybe I'm just blind. Concubine Li nodded in agreement, then said angrily, I don't care, Su Yang, it was you who caused me to fall, so you must be responsible for me. Now, I want you to carry me on your back. Haha, you little scoundrel, okay, just carry it, but I have to charge interest. Su Yang smiled, then carried Li Feixuan on his back, holding his wife's, ahem, to prevent her from slipping. At first, Li Feixuan was full of doubts about the so-called interest, but now she felt Su Yang's restless hands and immediately reacted. Her face turned red as if she could pinch blood. Su Yang, your hands. What happened to my hand? Where did you put it? Move it away. No, honey, if I move away, you will slip off me. Forget it, just don't move. In the end, Li Feixuan compromised and let Su Yang go behind her back. Under the moonlight, their silhouettes grew longer and longer. At this time, outside the Jimen black market, in the dark, two figures, a small one and a large one, stood side by side, both holding a baseball bat in their hands. Sister, I have been keeping an eye on this guy for a long time today. The things on him are extremely valuable and will be of great help to you. The little guy standing on the left spoke, his voice was only 3 or 4 years old, full of childishness, and then said, Once you get this vote, I promise to let you break through to the realm of energy transformation. Haha, it's true. Brother Zing, "You didn't lie to me, did you?" the person next to him asked as if seeking confirmation. "Good. This little figure is none other than Suzeng. As for the person on his right, it is Li Kekai." At this moment, the two of them were wearing black clothes and flesh-colored stockings on their heads. They each held a heavy baseball bat in their hands and squatted carefully in the darkness. About 7 days ago that night, Su Yang noticed Chu Fuxian's aura in the Su family manor and did not return to the riverside villa. That day, Li Kekai, Zhou Yutong, and Li Feixuan took Suzing to have a barbecue. As a result, at the barbecue stall, I met a group of people looking for trouble. One of them had entered the realm of Huajin. Li Kekai's three-legged cat's kung fu was okay against ordinary people, but when she met that group of people, she was defeated directly. At the critical moment, Suzing took action, knocking everyone down with 3 strikes and 5 divided by 2. From then on, Li Kekai formed a deep friendship with Suzing and began to no longer hate Suzing, even if Suzing disliked her for being young. And Li Kekai kept pestering Suzing, asking him how he practiced and why he was so strong at such a young age. Suzing naturally ignored Li Kekai and ignored her. But later, Li Kekai caught Suzing's weakness. This little guy with mysterious origins has 2 hobbies, one is eating, and the other is having a little wife. Rather than eating, Suzing wanted to find a wife. So Li Kekai lied that besides Tong Tong, she also had several best friends, each of whom was several times more beautiful than Tong Tong. As long as Suzing told her how to practice, she would introduce her best friends to Suzing. Suzing was immediately tempted, but he did not say that he became a master through the enlightenment, but that he could guarantee that Li Kekai would become a master. Transform strength. When Li Kekai heard this, she immediately changed her request and asked Suzing to help her. In exchange, she would introduce her best friend to Suzing as his mistress. Actually, how could Li Kekai have a best friend who was several times more beautiful than Tong Tong? They were all just cheating on Suzing. However, Suzing was young and had little experience after all, so he didn't notice it at all and happily agreed to Li Kekai. After Zhou Yutong returned to Jiangnan, Suzing began to think of ways to help Li Kekai improve her strength. Now Li Kekai is in the realm of dark energy. It is actually not difficult to break through to the state of transformation. She only needs to take some pills that increase her true energy to break through. However, when Suzing ran away from home, he did not bring any such pills with him, and he had no money on him. There was no other way, so he came up with the idea of Jimin black market. Before coming to Jiangbei, Suzing had already prepared sufficient strategies, so he knew the 9-sect alliance's stronghold in Jiangbei. But he didn't want to expose himself, lest his mother send someone to take him back, so his mind changed and he thought of robbery. Suzing asked Li Kekai to take him with him, pretending to be a disciple of a nearby sect, and brought his brother to the Jimin black market to buy things and see the world on the way, which would not arouse others' suspicion. Then, Suzing was looking for targets in the Jimin black market, specifically picking out stall owners. When he saw something he liked, he would jump out and rob them when they left the Jimin black market. In just a few days, Suzing and Li Kekai had successfully committed many crimes. Li Kekai has also reached the peak of dark strength, and is only one step away from the realm of transformation. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 302. Tonight, Suzing watched for a long time and finally fell in love with the elixir of a middle-aged stall owner. Although Suzing is young, he is very knowledgeable in ancient martial arts. He could conclude that as long as Li Kekai took that pill, she would definitely be able to successfully advance to Huajin. Sister, don't forget to promise me and introduce your beautiful best friend to me as my little wife at this moment, Suzing said excitedly. Brother Zeng. Li Kekai carried the baseball bat and said generously, don't worry, the eldest sister is patting her chest and promises you that she will keep her word. TCH, do you have breasts, Suzing said smoothly. Li Kekai was not polite at all. She grabbed Suzing's ear and said fiercely, "What did you just say?" I, I, sister, let go, I didn't say anything," Suzing said quickly. "I obviously heard it. How many times have I said it, don't say I'm young." "Don't say I'm young," Li Kekai twisted Suzing's ears hard. It hurts, wait a minute, eldest sister, stop making trouble, that guy is here, it's important to do business," Suzing said sternly. "Humph, I'll let you go this time." Only then was Li Kekai willing to let go, and then she and Suzing hid in place motionless. At this time, a middle-aged man in a grey robe walked out of the nine-door black market, playing with a black pill in his hand. "Hey, it's so hard to do business these days. I've been working in vain today and haven't completed any business." The middle-aged man sighed repeatedly, then put away the black pills and planned to return to his residence. Boom! But at this time, Suzing took action, jumped out and hit the middle-aged man on the head with a stick. "You, who are you, Before the middle-aged man could react, he was knocked unconscious by Suzing. His eyes widened and he fell straight to the ground. Done. After dealing with the middle-aged man, Suzing skillfully took out the black pills from the other man's clothes. "Wow!" Li Kekai came belatedly with a baseball bat on her shoulder and took the pills from Suzing's hand. Then she patted Suzing's shoulder and couldn't help but praise, "Brother Zing, your moves are getting more and more nimble. You're so awesome. Of course, I am a man determined to be a gangster. This is just the beginning." Suzing imitated Li Kekai, put the baseball bat on his shoulders, and said ambitiously, "Sooner or later, I will knock out all the old antiques in the ancient martial arts world and snatch away all their valuable treasures." "Ha ha ha, yes, you are worthy of being my little brother of Zing," Li Kekai said with a happy smile. "Sister, when will you introduce me to my best friend? No one has brushed my bottle these days, and no one has sang to me to sleep. I am almost sick to death," Suzing asked hurriedly. "Don't worry." Li Kekai put away the black pill, her eyes curved into a crescent shape, and smiled softly, "You said this pill can help me gain strength, but I don't know if it's true. I'll see the effect after I take it. If it's true, you've been promoted, I'll take you to my bestie right away, and I'll make sure you look beautiful." "Very good." Suzing was so excited that he couldn't help but smile when he thought of someone brushing his bottle or singing to lull him to sleep. But the next moment, Suzing said, "Sister, let's leave quickly. The fifth rule of gangsters is that they must not stay at the crime scene for a long time." "Yeah, let's go." Just like that, the two of them snatched the black pills, ran away, and quickly disappeared into the night. But they didn't know that at this moment, in the dark, there were two people who witnessed what just happened. These two people are the guards of the Jimin Black Market, Lu Hui and Wang Sai. In recent days, what happened outside the Jimin Black Market has attracted their attention. Even though they left the Jimin Black Market, no matter what happened, it had nothing to do with them. But the distance was too close. Suzing and Li Kekai seemed to have caught this loophole and started attacking at the entrance of Jimin Black Market every time, making it difficult for Lu Hui and Wang Sai not to pay attention. That child, when he was in the Jimin Black Market, was not wearing a mask. He looked exactly like the child that the owner wanted to investigate. He must be the same person. Lu Hui said in shock, "He is only 3 or 4 years old. I didn't expect him to be so strong." "Yes." Wang Sai next to him couldn't help but sigh. The middle-aged stall owner, at least in the early stage of Grandmaster, was unable to fight back and was knocked unconscious by that little guy. He became a Grandmaster at the age of 4 or 5. It's incredible. What is the origin of this little guy? We have been investigating for so long, but we haven't found any clues. The 3 or 4-year-old Grandmaster. As Lu Hui was talking, he suddenly thought of something and murmured, "I remember hearing someone say that the alliance leader not only has a daughter, but also a son, who is a twin. It seems that the alliance leader's son almost died when he was born. He was enlightened by his ancestors and survived, so he was a master the moment he was born. Suzing, surnamed Su." Lu Hui suddenly realized it and said in surprise, "Wang Sai, could this Suzing be the son of the alliance leader? This is really possible." Wang Sai nodded, and then said, "The alliance leader once had a relationship with the master. Miss Yu Yu's father is the master, so the master is Suzing's father. Pretty close." Lu Hui smiled softly, and then said with a wry smile, "The master's son is really ferocious. He wants to be a gangster at a young age. He has been committing crimes in a series these past few days, which has made people in the Jimin black market panic. It seems that the master must be notified as soon as possible. Master, please take good care of him to prevent him from doing evil again." "Well, that makes sense," Wang Sai nodded. Afterwards, Lu Hui dialed Su Yang's mobile phone number. At this moment, Su Yang has already carried Li Feixuan back to the riverside villa, and the two of them are watching TV on the sofa and enjoying a wonderful time together. At this time, Su Yang picked up the phone and listened quietly to Lu Hui's story, his expression gradually becoming complicated. "You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment." Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 303. Son. That little brat Suzing is actually his son? What the hell? Su Yang shook his head when he thought of the cheap look of Suzing's thing. Impossible. Absolutely not. I am handsome, charming, law-abiding, and above board. How could I have such a crotchless son? Lu Hui must have made a mistake. Yes, that's right, he just made a mistake. There must be a misunderstanding. With this in mind, Su Yang hurriedly asked, "Lu Hui, what's going on? I asked you to investigate Suzing, how come he became my son? Reporting to the master, this is it." On the other side of the phone, Lu Hui said respectfully, "Since I received your order, I have started to investigate, but no information about Suzing has been found in the ancient martial arts sects in several mountains near Jiangbei, so I did not reply. You. But today, I suddenly remembered something. Our alliance leader Qian Shangxiu has a son. He is about 4 years old. He was a Grand Master when he was born. He is completely consistent with Suzing." Lu Hui continued, "Master, Miss Yu Yu's surname is Su, which means that the alliance leader's son will most likely have your surname, and the Suzing you asked me to investigate also has the same surname. If I am not wrong, Suzing will he is the biological son of you and the alliance leader. This is unscientific." Su Yang said with confusion on his face, 5 years ago, when I separated from your alliance leader, she was indeed pregnant, but it was Yu Yu who was pregnant, not Suzing." "Owner." Lu Hui smiled bitterly and said, "Haven't you heard of twins? It is said that the leader of the alliance gave birth to a pair of children at the same time." "What?" When Su Yang heard this, he began to believe what Lu Hui said. "Is it possible that Suzing is really his son?" "Owner." At this moment, Wang Sai next to him said, "The alliance leader just sent a message saying that his son Suzing ran away from home and is currently in Jiangbei. Let us take care of him secretly. The message just came. Let me take a look." Lu Hui's voice came over the phone. After a pause for a few seconds, Lu Hui smiled and said, "Master, I can't make a mistake now. Suzing is really your son." After receiving this news, Su Yang was completely dumbfounded and full of disgust towards Suzing. Damn. I wanted to be famous all my life, but in the end I ended up with something like this. What a twist of fate. But then I thought about it, no matter what, I had a son after all, which was a good thing. Hey, let's train him slowly in the future. Su Yang sighed, having no choice but to accept this fact. It's not bad to have both children. Although my son has stretched his hips, my daughter is still nice. She wears a thoughtful little cotton padded jacket that keeps her warm and does not leak air. Thinking of Su Yuyo, Su Yang couldn't help but reveal a happy smile. Never mind. Since they are twins, let's just accept it. It's a buy one get one free gift. Su Xing's gift is a bit rubbish, so it doesn't hurt. Lu Hui, that little bastard Yu and Xing, why do they have such great strength at such a young age? Especially Yu, who can actually explode the power of Tianzong at this time, Su Yang asked curiously. There have been rumors about this in the Nine Gates Alliance for a long time. It is said that the leader of the alliance was born prematurely and almost died. Lu Hui explained, thanks to the enlightenment of our ancestors, we were able to save the alliance leader and 2 children. I see. When Su Yang heard this, he said with a complicated expression, I didn't expect Shuer to go through hell for the sake of her 2 children. Shuer, I will keep your affection for me in mind. When I handle the affairs of the Su family, I will spend my whole life making it up to you. Su Yang promised and was about to hang up the phone. Li Feixuan smoothed her hair in front of her forehead, smiled and said, I have accepted Shuer and I have accepted Yu, so naturally I can also accept Zheng. This. Li Feixuan snuggled in Su Yang's arms, raised her head and looked at Su Yang, and warned seriously, so, Su Yang, when he comes back later, don't hit him, talk to him if you have anything to say, and teach him patiently, he is still young, it will be corrected in the future. Li Feixuan then laughed and said, when I first saw Zheng, I thought this little guy was very pleasing to the eye, haha. I didn't expect that he was Yu Yu's brother. What? If you don't learn well at a young age, you still become a gangster. Nemas. No wonder Su Xing is so young and has so many evil ideas. It turns out that she is your son. Now it makes sense. Like father, like son, Li Feixuan teased with a smile. Su Yang nodded and immediately hung up the phone, his face looking very angry. Su Yang's face darkened, he turned to sit next to Li Feixuan, held Li Feixuan in his arms, and asked curiously, honey, you know that Su Xing is my son, aren't you angry? Xing is the child Shuer risked her life to give birth to for you. Even if you don't want him, I will still want him. Lu Hui continued, his name is Kikai's eldest sister, and he wants to help Kikai advance to the next level. Wife, it's meaningless for you to say this. Lu Hui said bluntly, young Master Xing has been wandering around the Jimin black market recently, and even used the night to rob the stall owners of the Jimin black market. What's the matter? Su Yang said calmly. When Su Yang heard this, he was furious. He gritted his teeth and said, this little brat is so brave. He actually did something sneaky. I'm so angry. Seeing Su Yang's furious look at this moment, Li Feixuan couldn't help laughing and said, haha, Su Yang, you are the only one who can restore your fame for the rest of your life. Come on. In exchange, Kikai will introduce a beautiful best friend to Master Xing as his wife. When she was on the phone with Lu Hui just now, Li Feixuan was right next to her, and she could hear the conversation clearly. Lu Hui paused, and then said, this matter has something to do with young Master Xing, Master, wait a moment. Wang Sai and I were hiding in the dark and probably heard something. It seems that young Master Xing didn't use it for himself, but snatched it for a girl named Kikai. Bandit. Su Yang cursed angrily, then thought of something, and asked, by the way, he has already entered the realm of a master, why is he still grabbing the cheap hill? Lu Hui smiled and said, that's probably it. Young Master Xing and Kikai have gone far away. They probably went home. Young Master Xing also said that he wants to be a gangster, Wang Sai next to him added. At this moment, Lu Hui said, I am looking for you tonight, and there is one more thing I want to report to you. Damn it, my whole life's reputation will be ruined in one day. You are a gangster. Su Yang gritted his teeth, and his cell phone almost exploded. Hearing that Lu Hui hesitated to speak and was not anxious, Su Yang knew that his son was not in danger, but he must have done nothing good, so he said, tell me, what did he do? I am mentally prepared. Yes. In the past few days, he has committed many crimes and successfully robbed 4 stall owners of their belongings. He did so cleanly and without leaving any traces, causing people in the Jimin black market to panic. Well, okay, I understand. Why am I angry? Su Yang, boys are quite naughty. Xing didn't have a father to teach him since he was a child. You have a responsibility that you can't shirk when he becomes what he is now. Lu Hui smiled bitterly and said, today, he even robbed a master's energy strengthening pill, which is worth nearly 10 million. If he takes it, he will have the opportunity to gain strength. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 304. Okay, I know. Su Yang lowered his head, kissed Li Feixuan's forehead, and said movedly, honey, I didn't expect you to be so reasonable. Okay, don't say anything else, just be nice to me from now on. Concubine Li declared her sovereignty, don't forget what I said, no matter how many women you have, I am the principal wife. Shuer has given birth to 2 children for you, and she is my best friend. Let her be your concubine. Li Feixuan thought about it and said playfully, as for the other messy prostitutes, they are all maids responsible for serving us. Okay. Su Yang knew that Li Feixuan was joking, so he hugged Li Feixuan tightly and smelled the fragrance of his wife. By the way, Su Yang. At this time, Li Feixuan suddenly sat up and said angrily, on the phone just now, the person mentioned Kikai. I didn't expect the 2 of them to work together. When they come back later, I will take Kikai away to teach them a lesson, and you can teach Xing a lesson alone. Li Feixuan reminded her again, you must not hit Xing. Boys cannot be hit. It is when they are rebellious. The more they hit, the more disobedient they become. Well, I understand. Su Yang nodded, and the couple finally agreed to teach Su Xing and Li Kikai separately. At this moment, Jiangbei, somewhere in a corner. A tall man in military uniform hung up the phone with a particularly solemn expression. This person is none other than the Tian's god of war, Zhao Tian's, who came to Jiangbei some time ago. He came to Jiangbei mainly to win over Su Xiantian and recruit talents for Prince Ping Long Suxing. But Zhao Tian's had been squatting in the Jimin black market for many days and never saw Su Xiantian. But he didn't give up and continued to stay guarded. Until just now, he received a phone call and gave up the idea of staying guarded. Because there are changes in southern Xinjiang, Zhao Tian's must quickly return to southern Xinjiang to guard the border. Country D is becoming more and more emboldened. It dares to lead its troops to attack southern Xinjiang in an attempt to open a gap and use it as a springboard to target the hinterland of China. Zhao Tian's said coldly, with me, Zhao Tian's, how can I let them get what they want? I will rush to southern Xinjiang to stabilize the morale of the army and stop the enemy. But I left Jiangbei this time, and I don't know when I will be able to come back next time. Marshal Su treated me with great kindness. I must go to the Su family manor to say goodbye to him. With this thought in his mind, Zhao Tian's figure disappeared on the spot and went straight to the Su family manor. About half an hour later. Riverside Villa. Su Xing and Li Kikai, wearing night clothes and flesh-colored stockings, crept into the living room. The lights in the living room are not on. My sister must not be back. Brother Xing, why are you so careful? Li Kikai said dissatisfied, also, wearing these stockings on my head is so uncomfortable. Anyway, the robbery was successful, so I can just take them off. SHHH. Suzing whispered, "Sister, don't you understand this? Article 3 of the Gangster Code must not be taken lightly at any time. Let's go back to the room, take off our stockings, change back into our own clothes, and then be more generous. You must be careful what you say now. It seems to make sense. Okay, I'll listen to you." Li Kekai nodded, then followed Suzing, hunched over, and walked forward cautiously. Snapped. Just then, the lights in the living room suddenly turned on. "Sister, why did you turn on the light?" Suzing complained. "Didn't I tell you that we need to change our clothes first?" "I didn't open it, didn't you open it?" Li Kekai asked doubtfully. "What, I didn't open it either. Is there something unclean?" Suzing's expression changed instantly, as if he was a little scared. At the same time, a hand quietly rested on his shoulder. "Ah, ghost." Suzing broke through his defense instantly, like a cat whose tail was stepped on, jumping 3 feet high, with panic written on his face. The owner of this hand is none other than Su Yang. Just now, Su Yang noticed the auras of Suzing and Li Kekai, so he turned off the lights in the living room in advance. At this moment, Su Yang's eyes fell on Suzing, and he said with a dark face, "You bastard, what have you been doing?" Brother, I didn't go anywhere," Suzing said quickly. "Big brother?" When Su Yang heard this, his expression was complicated, and the corner of his mouth couldn't help but twitch. She didn't know that Suzing was her son before, so she thought it was okay for him to call her eldest brother. But now, Su Yang doesn't feel very comfortable. "Damn it, my son calls him big brother. Does he still have the law of kings? Does he still have the laws of heaven, this little trash?" But, on second thought, I seem to have gone too far. The son calls him eldest brother, at least he is an equal, but the father calls him Uncle Xian Tian. Never mind. Don't worry about this anymore. Now. Su Yang stared at Suzing and pulled the flesh-colored stockings off the other person's head. "Ouch, it hurts, brother, please be gentle, you hurt me," Suzing said, covering his ears. "Shut up, don't call me big brother, I don't have a little brother like you." Su Yang had a dark face, and then asked seriously, "You are dressed like this, and you still say you haven't done anything?" "Humph, little bastard, I know everything you and Kekai did. If you don't admit it, don't blame me for being rude." Suzing had already been severely beaten by Su Yang, and he also knew that Su Yang was his father. At this moment, Suzing felt a little scared. He quickly looked at Li Kekai and begged for help. "Sister, help me, help me. Brother-in-law." Li Kekai took off the flesh-colored stockings on her head, walked over and said, "What are you doing?" "Zing and I are playing games, so we dressed up like this." "Yes, we were playing a game, not robbing," Suzing added. "You little fool, shut up, isn't this trying to cover up the truth?" Li Kekai muttered with a dark face. At this time, Li Feixuan walked out of the bathroom, smiled and said, "Ha ha, Kekai, can you use idioms?" "Sister." Li Kekai's expression became a little unnatural, she lowered her head and whispered hello. "Kekai, you are so brave. You actually took Zing to rob him, and you also introduced him to your best friend as his little wife. You are really capable." Li Feixuan said with a straight face, "Let's go home with me. I'll take care of you when we get home. Su Yang, I'll take Kekai away first. Remember, don't hit Zeng. If you have anything to say, please speak it out." "Wife." Su Yang smiled and said, "It's so late and you can't drive. How can you go back? You'd better stay." "No, I'm afraid you can't help but come to me at night." As Li Feixuan spoke, her face suddenly turned red, and then she changed the subject and said, "Besides, who said I can't drive? I learned it 2 years ago." Su Yang asked doubtfully, Then why did you ask me to drive you to the internet celebrity bridge to shoot a video when you said you couldn't drive? Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 305. I was lying to you. My car is parked outside. Li Feixuan showed a playful smile, and then said, "Let's go, Kikai, come home with me. Su Yang, I'll see you tomorrow. I won't disturb you and teach your son a lesson." After saying that, Li Feixuan took Li Kikai's hand and walked out the door. "Damn it, big sister, don't leave, please help me." Su Xing looked at Li Kikai asking for help. "Brother Xing, there is nothing I can do for you, but just wait. When I advance and gain strength, I will definitely help you get revenge." After leaving a few words, Li Kikai left the riverside villa with her sister. Now, Su Yang and Su Xing are the only ones left in the living room. Su Yang didn't say a word, but stared at Su Xing with a serious face. The atmosphere at the scene was solemn, a perfect prelude to domestic violence. "Big brother." Su Xing suddenly panicked and said quickly, "I was wrong. I admit it. My eldest sister and I went to the Jimin black market to rob tonight, but I was also forced. It's all my fault, eldest sister." She said she had several best friends who were several times prettier than Tong Tong. "I couldn't hold it back and made a big mistake." Su Xing said repentantly, "I shouldn't. I feel very regretful now. I'm sorry for the people and the country. I..." "Shut up." Su Yang was really fed up and interrupted, "Let's talk about the robbery later. Now I ask you a question, and you must answer it truthfully. Tell me, what is your mother's name?" Su Xing paused, a little surprised. Why did he ask this suddenly? Could it be that he guessed my identity? After a pause for a few seconds, Su Xing said with a smile, "My mother, she is just an ordinary person." "Brother, I told you my name and you definitely didn't listen. Who are you calling big brother?" Su Yang raised his hand and flicked Su Xing's head, and said with a serious expression, "Bastard, I've asked someone to investigate your identity. Your mother is Qian Shangxiu, the leader of the 9 sections. You have a sister named Su Yuyu, right?" Su Xing's face was full of astonishment, and he said in surprise, You know everything. Good." Su Yang nodded, his eyes fell on Su Xing, and he said with complex eyes, "Su Yuyu is my daughter, and you and he are twins. Su Xing, do you know what you should call me?" When Su Xing heard this, he immediately fell silent, with a more complex expression on his immature face than Su Yang's. He has always believed that his father is a waste, uneducated and unskilled, and is not worthy of being his father. Therefore, Su Xing never regarded Su Yang as his father, and felt that the father he had never met was dispensable. Every time Su Yuyu missed her father, he would always laugh sarcastically from the sidelines. But when he saw that other children in Jufeng Mountain were protected by their powerful fathers, Su Xing would be filled with envy. He also longs for a dad who is awesome and coaxing. When he fights with other children, his dad will stand up for him, speak for him, and defend himself. But it's a pity that he doesn't have a father. Wrong. He did, but he knew that his father was a good-for-nothing ordinary person in Jiangbei. As a result, Su Xing hated his father whom he had never met even more. Why is it that other people's fathers are ancient warriors and so strong, but their own fathers are useless? Why? He hates his father for being rubbish and hates God for being unfair. Some time ago, Su Xing accidentally learned that his father was dead. On the surface he didn't care, but in fact he was still a little sad. After all, if Su Yang hadn't died, even if Su Yang was a waste, Su Xing would still have a father's child. But if Su Yang dies, then Su Xing will really become a bastard without a father. The main reason why he ran away from home this time was actually to see the city where his father lived. That's pretty much it. But this week, Su Yang didn't return to the riverside villa, and Suzing had long been thinking about him. What's inappropriate? Dad, actually, I came to Jiangbei mainly to collect your body. Su Yang looked at Suzing, raised his right hand, bent his index finger, and raised his eyebrows. Little bastard, you don't accept it? Hearing these two words, Su Yang instantly showed a satisfied smile, feeling extremely excited deep inside. Suzing shook his head, met Su Yang's gaze, and then said the most filial words in the world seriously. Su Yang glanced at Suzing, and then said, I beat my son, it is natural and natural. Besides, beating is a kiss, scolding is love, I am loving you. P.S. The reward is terrible, the cold is almost gone, 20 reminder charms plus 1 update, and a free gift, everyone will give it away, please everyone, I am full-time, all the expenses of the whole family depend on this, read the book. Suzing was immediately frightened, and quickly said with a smile, Dad, stop fighting, why don't you just accept it? Suzing covered his head and said angrily, father and son recognize each other. It's such a touching scene. Didn't you see that I cried, but you made me lose my mind? Is this appropriate? The smile on Su Yang's face froze instantly. Therefore, Suzing slowly accepted Su Yang as his father, and even looked forward to seeing Su Yang again. A son is useless unless beaten. You must have heard that a filial son will emerge from a stick, but have you ever heard that a filial daughter will emerge from a stick? Su Yang asked back. Suzing's little face darkened, what the hell? He can defeat the peak master, but his father can easily control him. Do you miss Dad too much? You heard that Yu said that I am tall and handsome, so you want to live with me for a while, Su Yang asked with a smile. Suzing almost spit out the fragrance, but when he thought that the other person was his father, he held it back and gritted his teeth and said, Dad, did you hit Yu like this too? Su Yang nodded with satisfaction, and then asked, Son, you stayed well in the Nine Gates Alliance. Why did you suddenly run away from home and come to Jiangbei? Suzing slowly came back to his senses, raised his head to meet Su Yang's gaze, his eyes were slightly red, and there were tears in his eyes, and he choked and said, Old, Dad. Clothes. How? No. Suzing, what should you call me, at this time? Su Yang asked again. But. Then why are you willing to hit me? Suzing asked a question from the bottom of his soul. Worry, Dad, are you deaf? You can't even hear this, and there's more. That's definitely not the case. Su Yang shook his head and said, my daughter is here for pain, how could I be willing to hit her? But on the surface, he pretended not to care, raised his hand and gave Suzing a blow in the head, and said coldly, what did you say? Speak louder, I didn't hear you. Collect the corpse? Dad. It can be seen from this that Dad is not a waste, at least he is an earth sect, and he is considered a master among his peers. After arriving in Jiangbei, Suzing unexpectedly discovered that his father was not dead and was very powerful. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 306. Dad, I mainly want to collect the body for you. Su Yang was stunned, and the corner of his mouth couldn't help but twitch. Damn it! You are truly a filial son of China. Dad. Suzing said with added jealousy, a few days ago, my mother and little sister returned to Jufeng Mountain in southern Anhui and brought back the news that you died. You don't know, I am so happy. Huh, Su Yang frowned. Tui, no, slip of the tongue, slip of the tongue. Suzing quickly changed his words and said with a sad face, I'm so sad. I don't think about food or tea. My kidneys hurt when I think about you. I dream about you every day. As your son, Dad, it is my responsibility to collect your body. The 5,000 years of Chinese virtues cannot be lost, so I sneaked out of Jufeng Mountain and came to Jiangbei. Suzing continued, I thought, if you haven't been cremated, I would bury you, which would be regarded as my filial piety to you. But who knows, you are not dead. Dad, what is going on? Suzing asked in confusion, why do Mom and Yu both think you are dead? Su Yang paused for a moment and then reacted. That night, I was injured so badly that there was almost no chance of treatment. It is estimated that after Qian Shangxiu arrived, he saw that he was on the verge of death and concluded that there was no cure for him, so he left Jiangbei with Yu heartbroken. Damn it! How could I have overlooked this? Su Yang gave a wry smile and looked very remorseful. Hey, Dad, you said that because of this, I can't collect the body for you. At this moment, Suzing said with regret on his face, I was ready to cry loudly in front of your grave. It's a pity, it's a pity. It's a pity for you, uncle. Su Yang had a dark face and gave Suzing a hard time, then said, shut up, I want to call your mother. Dad, tiger poison cannot eat its seeds, you are too harsh, you want to beat me to death. Suzing grimaced in pain and was about to continue to complain, but with a look from Su Yang, he calmed down. Subsequently, Su Yang took out his mobile phone and dialed Qian Shangxiu's number. After a few seconds, the call was connected. Qian Shangxiu is Zhang Shue'er. Su Yang didn't know how to face Zhang Shue'er. After thinking for a while, he slowly said, Shue'er. Dad. Unexpectedly, Su Yu's surprised voice came from the other side of the phone, are you Daddy? Long. Su Yang reacted and smiled softly, my good daughter, it's me, can't you even recognize your father's voice? Dad. Su Yu cried with joy, wow, it's really you. Mom said you are dead. Yu is so sad. Dad is not dead. Your mother made a mistake that day, Su Yang explained with a smile, now Dad's injury is completely healed. Great. Su Yu was ecstatic and said excitedly, Dad, Yu thought you were dead. It's great that you are fine. Yu's father is still alive, la la la. Okay Yu, where's your mother? Let her answer the phone. Dad has something to tell her, Su Yang said softly. Mom went to Jufeng Hall. She is very busy every day and usually doesn't come back until evening. Su Yu responded, and Mom doesn't like to carry mobile phones. I was watching Peppa Pig on my mom's mobile phone just now. Oh well. Su Yang smiled and said, when your mother comes back, you tell her that your father is still alive. It's best for her to call me back. State. Suzing next to him was so frightened that he peed, his face changed drastically, he jumped up and snatched Su Yang's mobile phone, and then gritted his teeth and said, what are you talking about? In my mind, Dad is a tall and majestic god, whose majesty cannot be violated. Suzing's face darkened, and he muttered, Dad, your face changes too quickly. You wait in Wannan. When Dad handles things here, he will pick you and Mom up to Jiangbei. Our family will never be separated by then, Su Yang promised. When Su Yang heard this, he raised his hand, with his index finger bent, and his face looked threatening. Yeah, it's him. When I called Su Yu, her face was full of doting, but when facing me, she had a straight face. What, I owe you money? Suzing was about to cry but said without tears, brother, you don't understand good words, do you? Do you think I really want to be beaten? Su Yang couldn't bear it any longer, so he raised his hand and hit Suzing so hard that his brain collapsed. You are the younger sister and I am the older brother, Su Yu. In front of Dad, don't try to overpower me, Suzing gritted his teeth. Suzing hurriedly returned the phone to Su Yang and stood aside without saying a word. Su Yang took the phone and chatted with Su Yu in a gentle voice, always with a gentle smile on his face. Tisk, Suzing, Why are you pretending? Dad won't believe you. Yeah, Dad, Yo-Yo and Mom are waiting for you, Suyuyo nodded happily. Suyuyo curled her lips and said fiercely, also, I am the elder sister, the elder sister. Who are you calling big brother? As he said that, Suzing made a face and stuck out his tongue. He really deserved a beating. Dad, that guy Suzing, you must teach him a lesson. He doesn't have you in his heart at all. After knowing that you were dead, he said that it was just right for you to die, and he also said that you are not worthy of being his father. Suzing looked at the phone and said with a smile that said he wanted to be spanked, yes, I really want to be spanked. My body is very itchy now and I feel uncomfortable all over. Hee, it's a pity that you can't be spanked. I can't spank you. Yes, he is right next to me, Su Yang smiled. Suyuyo nodded crazily, then suddenly thought of something, and asked, by the way, Dad, my brother sent me a photo a few days ago. It seemed to be taken in the room where I used to live. He went to the riverside. Are you in the villa? Have you seen him? Su Yang hung up the phone and his eyes fell on Suzeng. The smile on his face disappeared instantly and was replaced by seriousness. Don't you feel uncomfortable all over and want to be beaten? It hurts, Dad. Younger sister. On the phone, Suyuyo was making a small report about Suzeng's evil deeds. Su Yang smiled and said, as a father, I feel it is necessary for me to fulfill your wish. In this way, the two chatted for more than 10 minutes, and the atmosphere was particularly harmonious. Su Yang's face almost had wrinkles from laughter. Is the younger brother you are talking about Suzeng? Su Yang asked. Fuck. Suzeng was stunned. He covered his head and asked, why did you hit me? Ahem, I didn't say anything. Immediately afterwards. You want to be beaten again, right? Believe it or not, I'll deal with you, Suyuyo threatened. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 307. Shut up. Su Yang looked at Suzing and said seriously, Yu is like the warm sun in winter, it can warm my heart. You just want the cold light of the knife. I feel heartbroken when I see you, Su Yang said with a straight face. Why did I hurt your heart? Huh, Yu just told me that you are happy when I die. Also, am I not worthy of you being your father? Su Yang asked with a straight face. Rumor. Suzing said seriously, this is definitely a rumor, Dad. She is trying to destroy the relationship between our father and son. Her intentions are despicable. She is a heinous and unforgivable crime. That's enough. You're talking too much. It's useless. Su Yang had a dark face, and then said, let me ask you, whose idea was it to become a robber at the entrance of Jimin Black Market? Hearing this, Suzing was about to quibble, but when he saw Su Yang's stern expression, he fell silent. I know even if you don't tell me, Suzing, at such a young age, you actually aspire to be a gangster. You really belong to me. Su Yang said in an educational tone, I was not with you before, and it was my responsibility for not giving you the correct guidance. But from now on, I will set an example and establish the correct outlook on things for you. Su Yang said sternly, you are not allowed to have such thoughts like being a gangster and looking for a wife. Do you hear me? Yes, Dad. Suzing stood at attention instantly, then turned and whispered, but, Dad, you also have a little wife yourself. My mother and Aunt Fei Xian, there must be one older and one younger. We can't just allow the state officials to set fires and not allow the people to light lamps. I don't accept this, Suzing said seriously. Su Yang was slightly embarrassed when he heard this and didn't know how to respond to this. If you're indecisive, if that's the case, then, let's have a brain breakdown first. State. Su Yang raised his hand and flicked it on Suzing's head. Oh, Dad, You are unreasonable. Suzing grinned in pain. Su Yang said with some embarrassment, shut up, I am the reason. So angry. Suzing said melancholy, when I tell you about force, you reason with me. I'm trying to reason with you, but you're talking about force again. It gives me a headache. Why do I have such a father? I'm so angry. This little thing has a really good mouth. Su Yang glanced at his son and was about to say something, but at this moment, he suddenly received a call from his father. Su Yang, return to the Su family manor quickly. I have something to discuss with you. On the phone, Su Shenbing said anxiously, then hung up the phone. Su Yang frowned slightly, then without any hesitation, he looked at Suzing and said, son, follow me. Dad, where are you going? Suzing asked doubtfully. Go see your grandpa and great-great-grandpa. Afterwards, Su Yang dragged Suzing away from the riverside villa like a little chicken. Half an hour later. Su family manor, underground secret room. After Li Chunfeng watched the bikini show, he left in a hurry, still shouting that he must install an LCD TV in his training place to hone his character. At this moment, Su Shenbing and Su Qinqin were still lying on the bed respectively as usual. There was a man standing next to him, dressed in military uniform, tall, about 2 meters tall, like a hill. It was Zhao Tian's. Su Shui. At this time, Zhao Tian smiled bitterly and said, Southern Xinjiang is full of crises. Young Master Su is delicate and frail. He has never seen wind and waves. I am afraid that when he arrives in southern Xinjiang, it doesn't matter. Su Shenbing smiled heartily and said, this kid Su Yang seems to have reached the peak of energy. It's time for him to see blood. Flowers in the greenhouse will never become great things. It's just, Tians, thank you for your hard work. Pay more attention to Su Yang on the battlefield. Su Shui is welcome. Zhao Tians waved his hand, and then said, okay, since Su Shui has made up his mind, I will return to southern Xinjiang this time and take him with me. At the peak of his strength, he is not weak anymore. He is qualified to be my accompanying adjutant. There will be no complaints in the army. After all, young Master Su's realm lies here, Zhao Tian said with a smile. At this moment, Su Yang walked in with Suzeng. Dad, what are you talking about? Su Yang smiled, then looked at Zhao Tian's beside him and said, hello, isn't this Tian's the god of war? You haven't left Jiangbei yet. Haha, I'm ready to leave tonight. Zhao Tian smiled softly, turned his eyes to Su Shenbing, and said politely, Shui Su, it's up to you to communicate this matter with young Master Su. I'll wait for him outside the manor. With that said, Zhao Tians looked at Su Qinqin next to him and said goodbye, old man, farewell. After saying goodbye, Zhao Tians turned around and left the underground secret room. Dad, Grandpa. Watching Zhao Tians go away, Su Yang looked at Su Shenbing and Su Qinqin, wondering, what is Tian's god of war talking about? Your grandpa and I plan to let you. As Su Shenbing was talking, he suddenly saw Suzing next to him and asked curiously, Su Yang, who is this kid? Haha, Dad, Grandpa, I also have something I want to tell you. Su Yang showed a smile, then pushed Suzing and said, Suzing, call someone. Grandpa, great-grandpa. Suzing greeted him carelessly, not afraid of strangers at all. Su Yang. Su Shenbing was stunned immediately. He almost sat up from the bed and said excitedly, what did he call me? I'm calling you Grandpa. Su Yang smiled and introduced, his name is Suzing, he is my son, dear. Fuck. Your son, isn't that my grandson? Su Shenbing was so happy that he hurriedly said, my dear grandson, come on, let Grandpa take a good look. Yeah. Suzing walked over obediently, pretending to be a good baby. Ha ha ha. Su Shenbing looked at it carefully and laughed heartily. Su Yang, don't mention it, this kid looks exactly like you when you were a child, so similar. Haha, the Su family has an heir. Ha ha ha, I have a grandson. Su Shenbing smiled from ear to ear. Su Kinkan, who was on the bed next door, was also very excited and muttered, "Little bastard, have you seen enough? If you have seen enough, ask my great-grandson to come to me. My eyes are dim and I can't see clearly from too far away." Su Shenbing heard this and complained in a low voice, "Father, you can even see the mole on the left leg of the beautiful woman wearing a bikini on the TV screen. Why are you so dim now?" Su Kinkan glared coldly at Su Shenbing, who immediately stopped and shut up honestly. Then, Su Kinkan said with a smile, "Great-grandson, come here quickly and show me to your great-grandfather." Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 308. Okay, Grandpa. Su Xing felt the warmth of the Su family, felt very happy, and came to Su Kinkan. Okay, okay. Su Kinkan looked at Su Xing with a kind face, and said excitedly, "You look handsome, and you are worthy of being a descendant of my Su family, huh?" Suddenly, Su Kinkan was stunned, his expression was full of surprise, and he murmured, my child, have you stepped into the realm of a master?" Yes, Su Xing didn't hide anything and nodded truthfully. "How is this possible? You are just a child of a few years old, how could you?" Su Kinkan said in disbelief. "Grandmaster?" Su Shenbing was also shocked and couldn't help but ask, "Su Yang, what's going on?" Before Su Yang could say anything, Su Xing said, "Hey, isn't it the master level?" "It's nothing, but it's my dad." Su Xing. Su Yang quickly interrupted and said calmly, "You go outside and wait for a while. I have something to say to your grandfather and great-grandfather alone." "Dad, Su Xing was a little reluctant, but under Su Yang's gaze, he went out obediently. After, Su Yang looked at his grandfather and father and explained, "This matter is more complicated. It's like this. Xing and Yuya were born on the front and back legs. When Zhang Shuer was pregnant with twins, she was born prematurely. Both adults and children were in danger." Su Yang continued, "In order to save their lives, Zhang Shuer's ancestors received enlightenment and lost their true energy to Yu and Xing, so Xing was a martial arts master as soon as he was born." "I see." Su Kinkan nodded, obviously knowing a little about Daigo enlightenment, and then asked doubtfully, "Isn't Zhang Shuer a young lady from a small family? How come there is such a powerful ancestor behind her?" "This." Su Yang smiled bitterly, and then said truthfully, "Grandpa, do you know about the Nine Gates Alliance?" "I know, it's a giant, even more powerful than the Medicine King Palace." Su Kinkan frowned and said, "What, is Zhang Shuer related to the Nine Gates Alliance?" Su Yang responded, "I didn't tell you last time. In fact, Zhang Shuer's original name was Jian Shangxiu. She was the daughter of the Nine Sect Alliance, and now she serves as the leader of the Nine Sect Alliance." Alliance leader. Su Kinkan and Su Shenbing looked at each other, completely unaware that Zhang Shuer had such a deep background. After a pause for a few seconds, Su Shenbing said in confusion, "Su Yang, are you kidding me? If Zhang Shuer is as rich as you said, why did she come to Jiangbei, and why did she have a relationship with you? Did you give birth to twins?" "What I said is true." Su Yang shook his head and said, "As for the reason, I don't know." "All right." Su Kinkan was thoughtful and said after a moment, "Su Yang, don't think so much. Yu and Xing are your children, there is absolutely no mistake about this." Su Kinkan smiled freely and said, "As for the reason, haha, no matter what you do, it is our Su family who takes advantage anyway. What my father said is absolutely true." Su Shenbing smiled, and then asked, "Su Yang, Zhang Shuer, no, it should be Qian Shangxiu. Why did she send Xing to you? Su Yang smiled softly and said, that little brat was not sent by Shuer. He ran away from home and came to Jiangbei. Ha ha ha, a 4-year-old kid who ran away from home is worthy of being my grandson. He has personality. Su Shenbing paused, then laughed heartily. Okay, Dad. Su Yang looked at Su Shenbing and asked doubtfully, what was it you were going to say just now? Su Shenbing immediately put away his smile, and then said seriously, Su Yang, I have discussed it with your grandfather, and I plan to let you follow Zhao Tian's on a trip to southern Xinjiang, and we will set off tonight. Going to southern Xinjiang. Right. Su Shenbing continued, Zhao Tian's told me earlier that there is trouble in southern Xinjiang now, and the army of Country D is approaching the city, and he needs to guard southern Xinjiang. I think this is a good training opportunity. You can go over and practice. Su Shenbing said seriously, only when you have experienced the baptism of blood on the battlefield can you become a truly good man. Su Yang, this time Dad doesn't ask you to shine in southern Xinjiang. You just need to follow Zhao Tian's and kill a few D-country soldiers. Su Shenbing encouraged, you may not be used to killing someone for the first time, and you may feel nauseous, but this is something you have to experience. Su Yang, you will definitely be able to overcome it. Dad believes in you. Baptism of blood. First time killing someone? When Su Yang heard this, he couldn't help but laugh secretly in his heart. What a joke. The truly accomplished person has an immortal body and the immortality of all dharmas. Dad, don't worry, I will let Fei Xian take good care of him and take him around Jiangbei to have some fun. Su Yang Zhengzhou didn't know how to improve the strength of the blood slaughter, so this was indeed a good opportunity. He has decided that he will take his son with him when he goes to southern Xinjiang this time, so as to prevent this kid from misbehaving in Jiangbei. At this time, Su Qianqian looked at Su Yang and said, if you don't want to go, we won't force you. The 49 blood slaughterers have practiced the Qingming physical training technique and the Fulong combined attack technique. Okay. If you want to strengthen your physical body, there are 2 main methods. Wait a minute, Su Shenbing asked hurriedly, what will happen to my eldest grandson if you leave? Who will take care of him? Su Zeng. Okay, thank you Grandpa. Besides, a member of the blood slaughter who has practiced Qingming's physical training skills, if he goes to the battlefield and faces ordinary D-country soldiers, he will transform into a killing machine. While consuming his strength, he will replenish his strength with the enemy's blood. He will never be exhausted. Fight endlessly until the last enemy is killed. Su Yang smiled softly and said, Grandpa, I think this opportunity is really good. I will definitely not miss it. Su Qianqian nodded and said, okay, since most of the secret guards are veterans, let Xiao Ting lead the team and you all can go together. Su Yang, what do you think? Should you go or not? Qingming's physical training is both good and evil, like a demon but not a demon. When it is running, the body surface can continuously absorb blood. Su Yang responded with a smile, but he didn't think so in his heart. Qingming's physical training process is to strengthen his body bit by bit, making him invulnerable to weapons and bullets, and invulnerable to water and fire. This is just the beginning. Dad, I have killed more people than you have ever seen, okay. 1. Collect various medicinal materials to strengthen the body. Su Yang nodded, then turned around and prepared to leave the underground secret room. Well, then go ahead. The war is urgent. Don't keep Tian's god of war waiting, Su Qianqian said. Go. Although the 49 members of the blood slaughter have practiced the Fulong combination attack technique, they have never fought in actual combat. Su Yang was about to refuse, but suddenly thought of the 49 blood slaughter members, and immediately changed his mind. Su Yang smiled softly and said, don't worry about the Su family manor. Zhang's Honggaiwo, the miracle doctor from Yeoang Palace, will be here to take charge. It's just that I want to bring our secret guard with me so that I can be taken care of. If there is enough blood, it is equivalent to a mobile phone. It can be played while charging and will never run out of power. The opponents on the battlefield are not very strong, and their fault tolerance rate is extremely high, allowing them to slowly adjust in actual combat. You kid, you are still afraid of death. You want them to protect you, right? And in the end, the physical body of this blood slaughter member will also be tempered. In other words, as for the second method, it is to bathe in blood. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 309. This little brat Suzink is truly a restless master. If he were left in Jiangbei, who knows how much trouble he would cause. He is a ruthless man determined to be a gangster. If we don't strictly monitor him and let him rob homes and do evil in Jiangbei, what's the point? But I definitely can't tell my father and grandfather about taking my son to southern Xinjiang. In the hearts of these two people, Suzink is just a well-behaved and honest 4-year-old child. Go to the battlefield where swords are shining, mountains of corpses and seas of blood. What an international joke. After making up his mind, Su Yang said goodbye to his father and grandfather, and then strode out of the underground secret room. Father. After Su Yang left, Su Shenbing's eyes were full of worry. Do you think there will be any danger in Su Yang's trip? Probably not, don't worry about him, Su Qianqian said confidently. Why are you so sure? Su Shenbing said in confusion, the situation on the battlefield is changing rapidly. Although Tianzi is the leader of the 10 war gods in China, he has to take care of everyone after all, and he cannot only take care of Su Yang himself. Also, Tianzi has already set foot in the Earth section according to international agreements. The Earth sect realm cannot directly participate in the war. He can only sit in command. Su Shenbing said worriedly, if Su Yang goes into battle to kill the enemy, he will not be able to protect Su Yang. Country D has been planning this for a long time. There must be a lot of masters and masters sent out. What if Su Yang? He. Su Qianqian smiled softly and said, you have forgotten that now my wise brother is the master of the Medicine King Palace. I have already thought about it. When I see the miracle Dr. Zhang's Honggaiwo, I will ask him to inform my wise brother and ask my wise brother to send someone to protect Su Yang. Su Qianqian continued, do you think I just want to train Su Yang? Well. Su Shenbing paused, then seemed to think of something, and suddenly realized, Father, do you want to use Su Yang as an excuse to find a reason to invite the Medicine King Palace? Good. The corner of Su Qianqian's mouth raised and he said, the influence of the Medicine King Palace is terrifying and extraordinary. There are countless masters and masters it can mobilize. So, after hearing about the battle situation in southern Xinjiang today, I thought of asking Su Yang to go there. Su Qianqian said with a meaningful smile, nothing in the world happens without a reason. Since then, the ancient martial arts forces have become more indifferent to national wars. In the past, the ancient martial arts sects would regularly send disciples to the court to serve as officials. Once the Earth sect ban was issued, the major ancient martial arts sects simply did not even send their disciples. Sent out. About 100 years ago, Duan Mulu, the most powerful master of Country D, took the lead in calling on the surrounding countries to jointly agree that the Earth sect masters were prohibited from participating in national wars, and all countries unanimously approved it. Having said this, Su Qianqian showed a satisfied smile, in the end, you did not disappoint me. Although your strength has regressed, you have also made Sushui famous and shocked the 5 counties and 19 countries. Su Qianqian said seriously, since ancient times, The ancient military forces of China have never participated in national wars. In this way, our Chinese country's chances of winning in southern Xinjiang will be greatly improved, Sukyankin said with a smile. Yes, that's what father said. But slowly, the surrounding countries began to provoke China. After discovering that China did not have strong military generals, they became even more unscrupulous. Su Shenbing was even more confused. Our Su family has declined to this point. All the major sects in the ancient martial arts world want to find us. The old leader of the Nine Sect Alliance knows our details. Why didn't we come to cause trouble? Why did he make such a big move? Let the descendants marry Su Yang. Hey, as long as we can protect southern Xinjiang, let it be a misunderstanding. There are many powerful people in our country, but they are all concentrated in the ancient martial arts sections without the masters of the sects. It may be difficult to resist the attack of country D by relying only on the casual cultivators in the city and the masters of the royal family. That's why, more than 20 years ago, I proposed that you enlist in the army. On the one hand, you would look for opportunities to regain your strength, and on the other hand, you would protect your family and the country. Ken. Sukyankin gritted his teeth and said, although I have taken off my armor and returned to my hometown, living in seclusion in the north of the Yangtze River, after all, I was once a soldier of the Chinese nation, and the blood of the Chinese nation flows in my body. I cannot just watch the Chinese nation being bullied and remain indifferent. In recent years, I have paid attention to the situation on the border and found that the enemy countries have become more aggressive. This is because our country has few generals and very few masters in the army. No matter how far the country of China has fallen and how miserable the people's lives are, as long as the country is not destroyed, the ancient military forces will not intervene in the national war. This situation has lasted for hundreds of years. That old guy was once extremely talented and a leader of the younger generation of that era. He once crushed all the geniuses and won the 100 Sects martial arts competition, so he was summoned by your grandfather Suwazi. Sukyankin smiled softly and said, that old guy is definitely a good person and has always been good at calculations. He. Sukyankin sighed again, and then said, but I don't think he will get angry over such a trivial matter. Sukyankin continued, no one knows what your great-grandfather said to him or what he did that night. Sukyankin said with an ugly expression, originally, our country, China, has a strong national power and has laid the foundation of a great power. No country dares to provoke him. Father, I understand what you mean. The old leader of the Nine Gates Alliance is of the same age as me. When I was a teenager, your grandfather Suwazi was at his peak. I met him a few times and we were just acquaintances. I knew him somewhat. Sukyankin continued, with this sudden change in southern Xinjiang, since country D dares to go to war, it must be fully prepared and must have mobilized all the masters from across the country. He sent his descendants to take the initiative to approach Su Yang. He must have known about the Su family in Jiangbei, which is the Su family in Kunlun. But since that night, the old guy's strength has improved by leaps and bounds, and he will soon be comparable to the older masters. Sukyankin continued, and he has a close relationship with the old sect leader of the Tianji section. He must have known that our Su family would one day rise from ruin, so he let his descendants deliberately approach Su Yang and want to be with our Su family. Get involved. The master of the Medicine King Palace is my good brother Su Xiantian. We use Su Yang as an excuse to ask him to send masters to southern Xinjiang. My good brother will definitely not refuse. Su Shenbing was worried, but wouldn't this be good? What if Uncle Xiantian thinks we are taking advantage of him? As for Su Yang, this trip to southern Xinjiang will be rewarding after experiencing the baptism of blood. So, our Su family is kind to him. I guess he doesn't want to be an ungrateful person. Su Shenbing nodded, then thought of something, and asked curiously, Father, that Zhang Shuer has such a great background, it is simply unexpected. I am very puzzled now. Why does she hide her identity? When you come to Jiangbei, why should you lose your virginity to Su Yang? Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 310. This. Su Shenbing smiled bitterly and said, then his heart is really big. Our Su family has experienced so many crises and almost perished several times. If it hadn't been for good luck in the past few days, we would have been destroyed. And he, as early as 5 years ago, paid for the innocence of his descendants and forcibly bound the Su family. Isn't he afraid of falling short? He. Su Kinkan smiled softly and said, luck is a mysterious thing. Since the old master of the Tianji sect left a prophecy, there is a possibility of it coming true. I guess the Nine Sect Alliance has encountered some trouble and he wants to give it a try. These are not things we have to worry about. In any case, Qin Changxiu has contributed to our Su family. The twins, haha, Yo-Yo and Zing, are really good. Su Kinkan laughed heartily. Indeed, especially the child Zing, he is well behaved and honest, and he looks like an honest child at first glance. Su Shenbing also smiled happily and expressed his evaluation of Su Zing. At this moment, Su Yang took Su Zing to find Xiaoting. At this moment, Xiaoting had already gone to summon the 49 blood slaughter members. Su Yang and his son were waiting in the yard. Dad, what's going on? Where are we going? Su Zing opened his eyes and asked curiously. Su Yang looked at Su Zing and smiled softly, go to southern Xinjiang, and I will take you to the battlefield. Fuck. When Su Zing heard this, he ran away without any hesitation. With quick eyes and quick hands, Su Yang grabbed Su Zing's clothes, lifted him up, and said with a playful smile, where are you going? Dad, you are so interesting. I am still a child, so cute and pink. Why are you taking me to the battlefield? Su Zing kept kicking his legs, but could only kick the air. He gritted his teeth and said, put me down quickly, Dad, that kind of fighting and killing is not suitable for me. I am so small and not as big as an ant. See if they fight, I'll be scared. Shut up. Su Yang interrupted, why are you pretending? Is there anything else in the world that you are afraid of? When you were a gangster and robbed the stall owner of Jimin Black Market, I didn't see you being afraid. I heard from the guards at the Nine Gates Black Market that you were very ruthless. One blow from the stick would make even the masters stunned. Well, #L8 #F equals. Su Zing smiled bitterly, and then changed his words, okay, I'm not afraid, but Dad, I don't want to go to the battlefield, it's so boring. Why don't you go alone and I'll stay in Jiangbei just in case, Su Zing suggested. Su Yang smiled and said, just in case. Think about it, how dangerous the battlefield is. It is said that a general will die in 100 battles, but one general will achieve a goal with 10,000 bones. Su Zing said seriously, Dad, in my generation, I am the only boy in our Su family. If we all go to the battlefield and something happens, who will carry on the Su family's lineage? Su Zing said seriously, if you go by yourself, if you die, I can collect your body for you. Dad, taste it carefully, is that what it is? Taste your size. Su Yang held Su Zing with one hand, raised the other hand, and gave him a decisive blow. He said with a dark face, to sum up, you are thinking of collecting the body for me. Ouch. Su Zing covered his head and grimaced in pain, but still gritted his teeth and said, what else? I'm your son. If I don't collect the bodies for you, how can you still expect Zhang San, Li, Si Wang, and Er Meizi? Don't talk too much. Su Yang glared at Su Zing and then said, I promised my dad and grandpa that I will leave for southern Xinjiang tonight, and I don't trust you to stay alone in Jiangbei, so you must go with me. Dad, I understand that you care about me. I'm so touched. I didn't expect that your death was imminent, Bah, I didn't expect that you would be thinking about me when you were about to go to war. Suzing was moved to tears and continued, but don't worry, I will take care of myself and won't let anyone hurt me. When Su Yang heard this, he said seriously, I'm afraid you will hurt others. I. Suzing was stunned for a moment, his small eyes were full of doubts, and then he asked from the bottom of his soul, Dad, am I your biological child? Stop talking nonsense, don't struggle, I'll put you away, don't be surprised by what you see next. Su Yang first reminded Suzing, and then threw Suzing into the air. Subsequently, as he thought, Suzing, who was originally falling in mid-air, suddenly disappeared. Disappeared out of thin air without a trace, as if it had never appeared. At the same time, in Su Yang's storage ring. Depend on. Suzing looked at the space around him and was stunned. He hurriedly asked, Dad, where is this place? Don't scare me. Su family manor, in the courtyard. When Su Yang heard his son's voice, he gained consciousness and entered the storage ring. This is my storage ring. You can stay here honestly for the rest of the time. Su Yang did not show up, and his voice reached Suzing's ears, I will release you when I return to Jiangbei. Storage ring. Suzing paused, then turned around with a face full of shock, and murmured, Isn't this the Sumuru ring? My great-grandfather had one, and I used to play with it. I have never seen the Sumurna ring that can form its own space. I have only read about it in ancient books. Suzing said in disbelief, I didn't expect that, Dad, you would have such a treasure. Su Yang was still standing in the courtyard, without speaking, just communicating with his son with his soul. Hey, I didn't expect you had heard of the Sumuru precepts. Of course, I am gifted. I read a lot of books at the age of 3. I have been in China for 5,000 years. I know everything and know everything. I am known as the ancient martial arts 100 Xiaosheng, Suzing said proudly. Come on, you said you were fat and you still breathed. Su Yang was still somewhat satisfied. After all, his son was indeed smart, and then added, since you know the Sumarena ring, don't mess around with it. Without my permission, you can't leave here unless you are powerful enough to surpass me, to break my storage ring, but you should give up on this idea. Dad. Suzing surprisingly did not make any witty remarks, but asked seriously, where did you get this kind of storage ring that has its own space? As far as I know, since all the ancient Qi refiners disappeared, only a few ordinary Sumerna rings have been preserved in the world. Most of the Sumera rings have disappeared over time and turned into ashes. As for the Sumera ring that formed its own space, all of it was destroyed due to a certain law. For more than 2,000 years, there has been no news of such a Sumera ring in the ancient martial arts world. Wrong. Suzing suddenly thought of something and murmured, it only appeared more than 100 years ago. It is said that Suwuji, the invincible strongman who once unified the ancient martial arts world, had a ring that could store living creatures. But this happened a long time ago. Dad, are you related to Suwuzi? Suzing asked curiously.